Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we are back with yet another Marco Makes Rubbersaurs release. It's always a great day when we have a brand new Rubbersaurs release from Marco. As you can see, we've got the Series 6 Microceratus pack. And on top of everything, you can see the image that's on the front of the box is awesome. I really love this. It definitely gives you that almost like Jurassic World Dominion type of a feel where they are in that like underground area where all the people have the dinosaurs caged up that they're clearly, selling and stuff. And definitely gives me the same feeling of that. I also like that there's a bit of a teaser there, if you can see, because back in the background there was also the Rubbersaurus compsognathus poking up, which is also really cool. Again, kind of like a little Easter egg right there for a previous release from the Rubbersaurs line. On top of this, included in the packaging, we also have the Marco Makes card, which shows off some of his amazing figures right there. And then on the back, the Tyrannosaurus that I'm dying to get my hands on and still unfortunately do not have, as well as all of the information for Marco Makes. If you are interested, of course, scan that code. And we also have some stickers. We've got the Rubbersaurs and Marco Makes logo right there as far as the stickers go. So some really fun extras on top of everything. And then, of course, our Microceratus, which to check out, something fell out right there. Oh, the card fell out. I forgot that there's a card. And again, a really nice card showing off that same artwork that we see on the front of the box. Obviously, a good bit higher quality now when it comes to this card. And you can see down here, we have Marco's name. And then if we turn it around, you have the art card collection here on the back. And it's obviously in like a little plastic slip to make sure that that card stays nice and safe. Love the cards. Cannot stress that enough. And then inside, of course, we've got ourselves the Microceratus. We'll just unravel everything. Ooh, wow, there they are. Straight out of the gate. They're the first thing that pops out. And then we've also got ourselves that little crate. So there we go. We've got our crate out now that our little Microceratus can hang out in and stand in. And then we've got to pop them out of their packaging as well. So we've got 3 different Microceratus. You can see one here with a really cool turn to his body. Really, really beautiful looking figure. And then we also have a bluish version, which has an equally cool looking look to it. Different pose, though, for the blue version. And then we've also got another pose with a different version that has tons of different colors on it here. And again, another beautiful looking Microceratus. And you can, as you can see, put them all in this little crate, though. They were standing a minute ago before I knocked them over by trying to lean it, so you can store them inside the crate. So as always, let's go ahead and jump straight to a closer look, and we'll check them out from there. So the very first one that we have is a reddish version, and you can see that we've got a nice looking pose for this one. Again, obviously standing here with its body turned a bit to its right, maybe making a right turn, maybe just kind of looking around in that direction. If you get nice and close, you can see the head sculpt looks really good. Definitely extremely screen accurate when it comes to what the Microceratus look like within the Jurassic World realm. You can see it looks very nice. There we go, my camera's focusing on it, giving you a nice look at the frill for our Microceratus. The paintwork as well looks really cool. Again, we've got reddish tones. We have black kind of designing and patterning through. You can see the eye painted really nicely. The nostrils up there on the front of the snout. You can see the beak as well is painted and, of course, sculpted beautifully. You can even see variation of color within the beak right there. As you move back into the body, you can see a lighter tone back here, kind of a mixture of like browns and oranges, actually, as you lead back into the body. And then, of course, you have that black patterning and striping and stuff through the course of the body. As you lead down, you can see that the rear legs are in a bit of a different position as the dinosaur seems to be taking a step forward. You can also see again that the body transitions to a darker tone as you lead down in both the front and rear legs for our Microceratus. And then as you lead out, you have the tail that kind of leads out and then curves away from us now. And it also has some very nice coloration within the tail as well, as it very much so darkens to a very cool like bluish tone as you lead out into the tail. And then you can get a nice look at what the figure looks like again from the opposing side. Definitely looking really nice. You have all the stuff you would want to see, like the spinal column here showing on the top. You've got the muscle definition and everything present. And then the underside also sports some nice looking skin texture. Very, very nice detailing for something as small as this is. And of course, considering it is a Rubbersaurs release, That means that it is extremely flexible because it is a rubbery sort of a material. Again, a Rubbersaurs makes sense, so the figure as a whole is extremely flexible, just like the Compies were. Then we've also got this version, again, that is also kind of taking a step forward. This one sports a variation of color like no other, as there is a ton of coloration on this one. But again, as we lead up here into the face, you can see the face looks really good, just like the other one did. You've got the black eye, black for the beak. You've got some nice greens, blues, blacks, reds. There's a whole bunch of variation of color on this one. Nice like patterning as you lead up into the frill of our Microceratus. As you lead back into the body of this one, you've got variations of greens. You've also got, of course, the blue legs and everything, even black in the legs as we have like a striping effect moving down, and again they transition to a black as you lead down into the feet. And look at how good the detail actually looks. If you look at the rear foot sculpt right there, you can see the scoots running down the course of the toes, and how nice the nails look. The nails have a nice genuine sharp look. Considering how incredibly small that foot is, that's pretty darn impressive to see how nice the detailing looks. And if you look at the body in general, you can really get a nice idea of what the skin texture looks like, especially if you look back here in the thigh leading into the tail. You can see all of the different little scales on the figure. Crazy impressive for its size. And then as you lead up into the back, you have a really nice reddish tone that leads out. You've got a striping effect, and you can see such a beautiful curve to the body all the way out there into the tail as you lead out. And again, you can see how extremely flexible the figures are, just giving you all sorts of a range of motion for the Microceratus. And if you take a look at it from over here on this side, again, you can see even the fingers are sculpted really nicely. You can also see the legs are in a bit of a different position from one side to the other on this one, as we have the leg trailing, and the dinosaur in general is looking to its left on this version. And again, the same type of coloration here for the underside. And then we have this version, which is the bluest version of all. This one is more of almost like a neutral sort of a pose. You can see both of the rear legs are in pretty much the same spot. Both, front legs are pretty much in the same spot, as it's just kind of standing here sort of looking forward. You can really get a nice look at that head sculpt. Again, the nice black eye, the nostrils there, the beak, everything looks really good. You've got variations of like reddish tones and bluish tones, maybe even some slight hints of purples in the head of this one leading up into the frill of our Microceratus. You can see again the opposing side of the head looks really good. And as you lead back, I really like the coloration on this one. I think the coloration is just extremely vibrant. In general, all of these figures have an extremely vibrant look when it comes to the tones of color chosen. But you can see again that the dinosaur, just like the others, has a nice patterning to it. Again, nice striping effects with the darker black tones and stuff like that as you lead through the course of the body. You have the same coloration here for the underside of the Microceratus. And you're going to find pretty much the same thing, of course, on the opposing side, especially because this one, unlike the others, is in pretty much a neutral position, pretty straightforward, not really a whole lot going on as far as the pose goes. But again, just another absolutely gorgeous Microceratus, a figure that is consistently or I should say a species that is consistently overlooked when it comes to Jurassic toys. We've only ever had one in the Mattel line, and it was a pretty hard one to get a hold of. But you can see the crate that our dinosaurs kind of hang out in has a very nice, very high quality look as well. And then on the underside, you've got the Rubbersaurs logo, which is always fun. Obviously giving this kind of like a metal sort of a look, I think. And you've got like that sort of silver to the crate itself. You can even see, if we look up here where we're there, you can see like the bolts and everything with how it was put together. Very minor details like that always impress me. And the paintwork is obviously a mixture of the silver, and then there's also some blacks and stuff to help give it a nice weathered look on top of everything. So super cool crate to go with our gorgeous Microceratus. Now, as far as a size goes, of course they are Microceratus. They're going to be very small. Honestly, I think we should probably go behind because the tape measurer will completely eclipse our Microceratus. But lengthwise, you're looking at right around 2 inches or a little over 5 centimeters. And considering they're all pretty much the same size, I'd imagine they're all in that same size range. Height-wise, they are at, I'd say about 3/4 of an inch for the back of the frill. actually a little over maybe 3/4 of an inch, or right about, actually I'd say almost right on, but maybe slightly over. And then for the top of the tail, just a hair under 3/4 of an inch for the version on the right, at least. As far as a size comparison goes, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being next to our Microceratus from Marco Makes, and you can very much so see they're tiny, just as you would expect them to be. But of course, it also means that they sit right there in the same size range that you would expect them to be, to kind of mix in with the Mattel line, which is always really fun. So definitely very nicely sized, I think, for what they are, and extremely impressive considering their small size. And just in case you wanted another comparison with some minifigures, we have a Mattel Mini on the left and a Captives Mini on the right. And obviously you can see our Microceratus are drastically smaller than both of those. And for one final comparison, because I don't feel like we need too many this time around, you have one of the Rubbersaurs Compsognathus here next to our Microceratus. If we just zoom in a little bit more, you might be able to get a better look there at them because he's kind of far out there. But you can see if you did pick up the Rubbersaurus Compsognathus, they are kind of similar in size, but obviously a good bit more body mass on the Microceratus. So these brand new Marco Makes Rubbersaurs Microceratus are absolutely beautiful. Again, he has done it. He consistently does give us some of the coolest dinosaur collectibles that are out there. In my opinion, very few things get me more excited than a Marco Makes figure, and a Rubbersaurs Marco Makes figure at that. And again, I love this release because it's another species that is consistently overlooked. It's a species that, if you are hoping to get one for your Mattel line, first of all, the Mattel version is really big, like, well, not really big, but big for what the dinosaur should be. Definitely, it's too big for, to fit in with the Mattel line correctly. But the figures themselves are very hard to get when it comes to the Mattel version. I think they were only in the Destructosaurs release, if I remember correctly. They may have appeared in one other release, but I can't really remember. I got mine from the Destructosaurs release, and since those figures weren't that common, it's a very hard figure to get a hold of. And it's not nearly as nice, honestly, in my opinion, as what we have here from Marco. I think each and every one of these are perfect representations of the Jurassic World style Microceratus. And again, I love the fact that he's also given them 3 different color schemes and 3 different sculpts. Obviously, when you have a release like this, you could just give them all the same sculpt and just release a few in different color schemes, but that's not how Marco works. Same deal with his Rubbersaurs Compies. He gave you different sculpted versions, different poses and stuff for those. Same thing here for these Microceratus. Again, you have different poses as they're walking along, just adding more life to your models and more life to whatever scene you put them in or whatever display you include them in. And considering how small they are, just like with the Compies, I feel like the detail is just so crazy impressive, for something as small as this, and to have the sculpt look as nice as it does. That, in my opinion, is pretty mind-blowing again. And when it comes to the fact that you can actually see the individual scales on these figures and they're still so small, the scoots running down the toes, like, that's just super, super impressive. The paintwork as well is very nicely done, again giving us quite a bit of variation of color on each and every one of them, but also really flashy color schemes for these guys. Like, they really stand out and look beautiful, if you ask me. Like, I am a huge fan of each version of these when it comes to the colors. I really don't know if I could pick a favorite, though. That would be a tough one. I would have to say probably the bluish version. Just, I don't know what it is with the blues and the purples and stuff on that one. I just really like that version. But every version really does look great. And you also have that kind of a crate there that you can kind of put your dinosaurs in. That also looks great. The sculpt is really nicely done. Very nice texturing to it. The paintwork on it looks great. Again, giving it a nice weathered look as well. So lots of realism added into this set on top of everything. So if you are interested in this, the way to grab these guys would be to watch Marco Makes video, which will premiere on March 22nd at 5 o'clock p.m. and you can immediately purchase your figures, right as soon as the video ends, and you can go ahead and grab them through the link that he will include. Again, once the video is over, they will go live. I'm just lucky enough to have a early access look at these guys. Again, a huge shout out and a thank you goes out to Marco Makes for allowing me the opportunity to get a look at these guys a bit early and hype you up for their release. So make sure you check out Marco's video. Again, March 22nd, 5 o'clock p.m. That is, of course, the time in the United States, Eastern Standard Time. For me, it would be 5 o'clock p.m. And that would, of course, vary depending on where you're from. But make sure you check his video out. I will include links to everything Marco makes down in the description. And, of course, like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.